Trummors.
Welcome back to All That Jam, where music has no limits. I am joined today by Trummors, David Lerner, and Ann Cunningham. How are we doing today, guys?
Good. How are you?
Very nice, very nice. You guys out in Taos right now, I'm guessing. Very nice, very nice. It's how's the weather?
It's gorgeous right now. It's sunny and it's just like in the 70s, so it's really perfect.
We always tell people that if they ever want to visit, the first week of October is the most reliably good weather in Taos, because the summer rain.
Yeah.
Right. I've only been to Taos once, and it was because we tried to drive through the Four Corners out of Arizona, and it was closed because of a snowstorm. So we had to drive all the way down, across, and up to get to Denver.
Whoa, that's
and we came down as low as Taos is where we crossed.
And you cross it. Wow. And that's still scary because of oh my gosh, that's intense. In the winter, we just don't travel. Wow.
Yeah.
Glad you made it out.
Yes. Well, we went to see the Grateful Dead, so maybe somebody was looking over us on the way back.
Yes, definitely. That's the charm.
So David, you were in a band that I really love, Ted Leo and the Pharmacists. They're a little punk, little indie, little arty. And one day, I guess you decided that you wanted to change up. You want to give me the intro story, how you ended up from there to working with Ann?
Well, yeah, I mean, while I was playing in the Pharmacists, I always played guitar on the side too and wrote songs, and always kind of wanted to spend a little more time, doing that and being more of the creative voice. But, with Ted Leo's name being on the marquee every night, it was fairly clear that would be an awkward thing. It wouldn't work. So there was, a long-standing desire to have my own band and my own project. And then when Ann and I met and we started playing and singing together, it was clear that, we had something that we could work with. So, it just kind of evolved. Yeah. Oh yeah. There were a couple of
Nerd steps.
Yeah, I did have a short-lived band called Spectacular Bird with my friends Quentin and Lou, who that was kind of where I started getting more into songwriting and arranging and thinking about how to record songs that are written in a more like songwriter round kind of way,
like 60s psych influenced rather than Ted Leo's.
Yeah, that band, I guess, as you say, could be seen as some kind of missing link, because it was more of a 4-piece rock and roll band with electric guitars, like folk rock. So, right. And then, that didn't last due to various factors. So then Ann and I started, getting a little more serious, and then started recording the songs when we moved up to Woodstock in 2010. And, we liked the way our voices sounded together when we recorded it, and we're excited to keep going. So sort of do you have anything you want to add to that, or?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it was
Woodstock is magic, isn't it? It's just like dripping with whatever it is.
Yeah, so true. The vibes are strong. They're still strong there. We love it there. Miss it.
Right. You ever been to Levon Helms up there?
We did. We got a chance to play at AB Home, and that was one of the most fun shows. It was really collaborative, and we got to sing, join all the musicians at the end of the night, and sang a Little Richard song. No, what was it?
Shake a Hand.
Shake a Hand.
Yeah, cool.
But we performed the Gordon Lightfoot cover at the bar, the studio, and it was awesome. Yeah.
That's fantastic. He had a club in New Orleans at one time in, I guess, the early 2000s for a couple years. Yeah, it looked like a lot of money went into it, and it just never. I think it cost more than it should have to keep it running. But I saw Alan Toussaint there one night,
That's amazing. Wow.
And in walks Levon, and he looks at me. I'm standing at the bar, and he like tips his hat at me, and my buddy's like, "Do you know him?" And I was like, No idea. I was like, we just made eye contact. My brush with greatness.
That's amazing. Yes. We never got a chance, unfortunately, to meet him. I think he had died around the time we met, but that's amazing. But even just meeting Amy, there's so much of him and his daughter. It's uncanny. So that was really
it was
cool.
a really great moment to warm up with her. She took us aside to like get us singing a little better, and we were singing Atlantic City with her, which was, you could kind of feel her dad's vibe on that, so that was cool.
Yeah, that's one of the covers that's better than the original, I'd say, the band's version of that.
With 10 Degree
for sure.
that and for me, Spooky by Dusty Springfield, I think, is better than the original.
Who did the originals?
No, not Hocus Pocus. They had a number in their name. I'll blurt it out in like 20
You're right.
minutes.
That's a good. I have to think more about the covers that beat the originals.
Yeah.
I bet we could come up with a few more.
The band Fanny's version of Badge, the Cream song, I think is.
That's
the recent cover I heard lately. And also their cover of Hey Bulldog, where I'm like, wow, these guys are taking the Beatles and making it better.
Have you listened to that Fanny record much?
No, I have not. I'm gonna have to dig it up.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Deep cut there.
So you're in Woodstock. Was there any stops between there and where you are now, or?
Well, we spent a fair amount of time in LA, but just like a month, here and there, since we made it to Taos. So yeah, I'd say we drove cross country. I mean, from Woodstock to Taos. Then we also kind of went back upstate a fair amount for the first few years we were here.
Yeah.
But yes, I'd say we still spend a fair amount of time in LA whenever we can get out there, because that's where we do most of our recording, the records and stuff.
Now, does moving to New Mexico, how does that affect your songwriting?
Oh, I think it really has affected it lyrically for sure.
Yeah. And New Mexico is a great place to write because, I think it's just helpful in terms of our process. I don't know how much it's changed our sound, because I think we had a pretty good idea of what we wanted to sound like before we moved here. But just having that kind of time and isolation and pace, it's really helpful to be able to get in deep in the project,
to be able to do that. But also, and then kind of reflecting back on all the travels that we have done, and I think that really pops up a lot in our songwriting, is just sort of reflecting, what experiences where we're driving through weird Western mountain towns and things like that. So I think lyrically it's more of a predominant, that influence.
A song like Spanish Peaks from our record Hands, that couldn't have been written unless we actually kind of had some of the experiences.
Once we broke down by the Spanish Peaks. We were stuck. That's where that
I had in my notes that there are a lot of I feel you ground a lot of your songwriting in places: McGinnis Boulevard, Platte Cove Road, Knoxville, Tennessee, the one about I Can Still Make Cheyenne. And I how much do you feel that is a foundation of your songwriting?
I think it's pretty major foundation, actually, because at least for me, because if I get a melody and I just tend to write a lot about the geographical space and that kind of whatever subjective feeling I'm trying to evoke. I think that's a good tool. I mean, at least for me, sort of definitely.
I think it
reminds me of Elizabeth Bishop. She did that. The poet Elizabeth Bishop. She was very places and things like that. Go ahead, David. Sorry about that.
That's a great reference, because she is wonderful.
Yeah, a lot of poets, of course, but I think it's a tried and true thing with the kind of songs that we write to, reference places. But hopefully, the places serve the larger purpose of the, you know, feeling something from the song, not just, you know, name checking various spots on the map. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
Try to really evoke that feeling of whatever it is, being broke down by the side of the road, or being heartbroken, or you know, being melancholic.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I
Desperate.
mean, there's the timeless presence of the earth around us all the time. So I have
Right.
trouble sometimes with things that are more ethereal and aren't grounded.
Right, and more abstract. I do too. Yeah, I tend to really gravitate toward the more imagistic,
Right.
evocative, but descriptive. Yes. Yeah.
Right. And I feel like the geographical thing ties into freedom and escape, which I feel like is a constant thread through all 5 albums.
Yes, for sure. Wow, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that is very present whenever I write.
Yeah.
Is that sense of freedom, escape, or trying to get out, you know, of somewhere. So that's interesting that you picked up on that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Because I would say that's a definite major theme, and that keeps coming up in
Yeah.
our songwriting.
Do we have any songs that aren't like that?
I know. I don't know if we have any songs.
I hear you. I mean, but it's great. And often I feel like it's about the journey rather than the destination, which I love.
For sure. For sure. Definitely.
So what's the process? Do one of you come with a piece? Do you get do whole songs just come from the heavens to you?
Sometimes we can write in the air that way. I like to write in the bathtub a lot, but
I mean, Hey Babe came to you pretty much the first song on the newest record, 5. That one came to you pretty much fully formed, right? And then
but it's rare. Usually I'll get like a vocal melody and figure out the chords around that, and then Dave will do his magic and really kind of elevate it, fine tune, change maybe the key or the chords, and we'll figure it out that way. And if he comes with a melody, I'll just do the same, but not quite as technical. I'll just figure out, oh, where do I slot in on the harmony, or should I sing the lead? So yeah, we really do. We write together, but we each have like a strong idea to bring. That is the focus of the song.
Yeah, and occasionally we'll sing lead on each other's songs. Like
right.
Long July is a song Anne wrote, and it's kind of like, I guess my vocal is a little bit more present, and then likewise like a song from a previous record, like Oh Laura or something, we arranged it so that Anne could be the lead singer. And I think there's another song on the new record that's like Jalisco Kid on the new record, similar thing.
Right, that was more Dave's song, and then we just kind of tweaked the
lyrics. I
read
the chords, and then it was like, it just sounded sweeter in that vocal range of Anne's, and with me coming in sparingly with the harmony. So, you know, we try to mix it up and see what works best.
But I will say, for my writing, it's a little different than Dave's, because he's far more like disciplined. He will sit, you know, every night, come hell or high water, just playing guitar. Even if it's just like, and I do tend to write in the air or in the bathtub, and I'm like, oh, I have a melody, and then I'll, you know, wait for my muse to strike. I'm very, very lazy about doing anything like
right.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I want to say about songwriting in general is that I think when we started this, at least for me, I don't know if this is for you, but what we wanted to bring other friends and other musicians and collaborators into the fold. So we had in mind kind of that model of like the Nashville session crew, and then, you know, people, obviously we're not comparing ourselves to Bob Dylan, but like, you know, people like Bob going down there for Blonde on Blonde and getting to work with sort of, or the things that were happening on the West Coast at the same time. Like, we always had this idea, like, oh, we would write with this imaginary group in mind. So I mean, that caused me to think on some level, like, my songwriting was like, in a way, a boondoggle, like just a way to kind of get people together. Like, I didn't think of it as so much expression or like, I have this thing I have to say. It was more like, I want to write songs and play music. But
you want to get together as musicians.
And I want to have something to play, so we got to write this material. But at the same time, I mean, it's a little facile to say it's just,
an excuse to jam
just
with your
an
friends.
excuse to get people together. But because I think my greater point is that I think for me it's half like putting in that work all the time, and half like those moments where inspiration finds you working, and then you come up with something that you like. So I don't think of songwriting so much as like personal expression as much as like doing a job. That's me.
There you go.
I think of it very much as personal expression, but
I studied poetry in college, and a lot of times I would work with forms which really forced you to look at it in a workman ethic, because you had 8 syllables. You had to do what you had to say in 8 syllables.
Right, which I love. I mean, I love that. I love poetry as well. I didn't study it, but I did study. I have a PhD in comparative literature. So, but poetry has always been like a long-standing just love of mine.
I always joke the only more worthless degree than I got with poetry is philosophy. So
I know. It's true. Those philosophy guys aren't out there doing anything.
Philosophy's hot now.
Yes, philosophy is. All right, so you have the song, right? You got it on the guitar, you got the vocals down. How do you flesh it out? Do you have the vision in your head, or with specific instrumentation you want around it?
We often do, but also if we're in we have the songs that we want to see what sticks with the actual band that's going to be playing it, because we do all live instrumentation. So we'll like rehearse 1 or 2 nights max, and then just go into the studio. And that's where a lot of collaboration comes in, because we're not like, you can't play that part. It's like it's a really great process. It really just is kind of magic, and it does come together, in that way. So I think that songs, the way that we recorded them, are really actually quite collaborative, because, we don't pre-write the band, the bass and the drums and the pedal steel, but just have the larger sonic picture in mind. And it's always worked out so far.
Yeah, it's fun, because it's like every time we make a record, it's like starting a new band, and we have, at some point it would be nice to get deeper with players, where we can get that deeper level of communication and interplay. But the fun experience of like, you're just starting to play something with new people, like we get to kind of recreate that all the time in a certain way in the studio, and that I think keeps it exciting.
Yeah, so a lot of it is almost just like kind of improvisational. And then
now, have you had any people constantly through all the albums, or each one has had a different lineup?
Actually, I think there's returning players for sure. Our dear friend Clay Finch, he plays in Mapache, who I'm sure you've listened to, and he's played on our past 2 records. And then our really good friend in New York, Kevin Barker, has played lead guitar on the earlier 2 records. And then Dan Horn has played pedal steel on a few. So we have a few recurring musicians, definitely, but we haven't done the same lineup for
I think we've had a different drummer on every record.
Yep, different drummer for sure. And bass player. Well, we've had Colby for the past 2. Yeah, so it does change up a little bit. Yeah.
Right. So when you go out live, what does it look like? Just the 2 of you, or do you have a band with you?
We do. If we're playing in LA, we can play. Usually we've played full band shows. We've done little West Coast runs. But yeah, we also can play if it's like a show that just doesn't pay enough to bring the full band to here or wherever we're going. We often perform as a duo as well, or a trio.
Do you know John O'Manson?
No, who
I've
is
heard of
that?
him. Yeah, he lives in Santa Fe, right, and has a
Yes,
studio
he
down.
lives has a studio. He played with Blues Traveler. He was on the 4 album. And he was part of the Nightingale scene with God Street Wine and all those bands way back in the 80s.
Whoa. Oh, I didn't know that.
There's a studio for you, though. He has an incredible studio. It might be a closer drive than LA.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Well,
We have to get hooked up with them for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll put you guys on an email together. He's a really
that'd be
great guy.
awesome. Yeah, I'd love to
He's
meet
a
him.
great guy there. So set list, when you play live, how do you figure? You just added a whole nother album of tunes. How do you work out a set list with making sure that you have the old stuff you love? And
You know, we just played upstate, and we at the Deep in the Valley festival, and then we played a show in Manhattan, and we were playing as a trio. So the way that we approach it is like, okay, who are we playing with, and then what songs are gonna like fly best in this arrangement. So we really just look to where let that kind of shape the set list is like in that way. But yeah, we do have 5 records. I think we were playing most of the new material.
Yeah, we tend to focus on whatever's new and then throw in a couple of old ones that fit the mood or right for the personnel.
Right. For the moment. Are you guys nimble enough for people to yell out songs at you?
Yeah, I mean,
I've talked to some bands and they're like, we learned the 20 songs that we're going to play, and that's all I have room for in my head.
Yeah, right. No, I think I think we're nimble enough, especially, I mean, with our own catalog, if it were like covers.
Yeah.
But we also do a fair amount of covers too. So.
You do a few covers.
Yeah. Every record we do one. Mm-hmm.
Early Morning Rain, I thought was fantastic. I mean, I love that song. So good choice. That's a choice cover.
Song is killer.
I think we did play that one in the past.
We did. Yeah, we did include that as an older one.
And it fits right in with the traveling and the freedom and that whole thing.
Right. He's just such a fucking great songwriter.
Yeah, fantastic. So your last album was Dropout City. That came out in 21. I'm guessing you guys recorded that over COVID?
We did.
Okay. How did you guys get through COVID? I've heard from people.
Sorry, I just spaced out.
Wait, Dropout City came out in before the newest one came out in April of this year. So
2024 is
2024 is the newest. Dropout City is the previous one.
Oh, right. No, yeah. That's why I was going back. Yeah. The newest 5.
Okay. Making sure.
But Dropout City we actually finished before COVID.
Okay.
Thank God. And then it came out. So when COVID, all the lockdown, so we couldn't do anything to support the record. Right. It was just like out there. So yeah, it's been like 3 years before we could play really. And then, but we did record this latest record over that 3-year pandemic stretch. So that was tricky.
And we were interrupted at various points by pandemic related.
It took forever to get this record made.
So the songs on this new one were songs written during that period, I guess.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into it. You called it 5, which is interesting. To just give it a number. What was the thinking behind that?
We really were stumped for a title, and it's just like, JJ Cale did it. It's our 5th record. Yeah, we couldn't agree on anything. So
yeah, we were like, well, it didn't feel like there was a clear title track of the record, and also part of the impetus between 5 is kind of just saying like, yeah, here we are. We've been doing this for a minute, like 5 records of stuff, like.
Go back and check the other ones out.
Yeah. Please.
Well, I mean, your first one came out what? The Over and Around the Clove was what, 12? Something like that?
Yeah. 2012. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right now, is the new one? Do you have a record label, or is it an independent thing?
It's an independent label. It's a very
Okay.
small label, but it's
Ernest Jennings is the name of the label. It's people we knew from before we even moved upstate. People I knew.
Yeah,
from,
it's
like,
based
from
in
like
New York.
Brooklyn music stuff, and yeah, it's a 2-person operation, and yeah, they do a lot of different types of music, different records, some more
Have,
funky
have all
stuff.
your albums been on them?
Hmm.
Okay, cool. Very nice. That's something interesting. You see bands these days jump around because I guess, I mean, a record company at one point, I guess, was essential. These days, maybe not so much.
I guess it really depends, right? On the project. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, a lot of people I think are taking it into their own hands to have
Yeah.
that kind of control.
Now more so than ever.
We never really got too deep into that side of things, calling it mogling
Right.
or whatever, starting our own business or anything like that. We didn't really have the wherewithal. I mean, we have other stuff we have to do. We have jobs and so forth. So I think it would be biting off more than we could chew to release our own records.
Yeah, to be self-released would be hard.
Luckily, we do have a partner there with the label that they do a great job with the pressing and distribution
and everything. And we can get this where on Bandcamp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where else can we buy a physical copy, because we want to sell physical copies and not Spotify listens?
Yes. Indeed. Where else? I'm sure you can get it
I mean, it should be in
Amazon. I don't even actually. That's a good
Amazon.
question.
Yeah, I'll take a peek. I'll put some links.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it's distributed.
You can get them direct from the label or from Bandcamp
or
or probably any of your favorite.
That's probably best direct from the label, huh?
Yeah.
I'm always joke, buy a ticket, buy a t-shirt.
Yeah. Yes.
Gotta do it. So let's talk a little bit more about the new one. Who are the people joining you on it? Who are your collaborators on this one?
Well, we mentioned Clay Finch from Mapache. He plays the lead guitar, and Colby Buttlemeyer plays bass, and he's been in the band The Tide. I don't know if you've heard them. Just like a LA band that's been around since early aughts. And who else? Tiffany Landman plays drums. She's so incredible. She's one of my favorite musicians in the world, and she is in LA too right now.
Yeah, we met her here in Taos.
Here in Taos. She lived in Taos, but then she's since moved. Who else is on it? Oh, Dan Horn, who recorded it at his studio. He also played the pedal steel on Cheyenne, and
we also did a quick little overdub session in Taos with our friend CJ Burnett, who's an excellent piano player, and he does all the piano stuff. So.
Yeah, he's really great.
So I think that's everyone who did it, but we demoed a lot of those songs, and I had some other friends in various parts of the country fly in tracks.
We did record because it was COVID. We recorded a whole different version ourselves of just demos of the whole record. So
there you go. I feel like your guys' sound, especially on this new one, is almost like a continuation of maybe something like the Flying Burrito Brothers or New Riders, having the pedal steel and all that, but also having the cosmic cowboy kind of thing working.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. That's such a good compliment.
Yeah,
I mean those are major influences on us. So yeah, that's cool that it comes through.
The Graham Parsons thing is so sad. I mean, so much there. So I often think about him. I am a huge fan of the Flying Burrito Brothers. That's such a fun.
I know. I wish there was still there are a few good documentaries. I don't know. I feel like there's still a lot more to be said for sure.
Right. There's some weird thing with his manager. Every year goes out to the desert and burned something when he, I have no idea, when his first day or something.
At Cap Rock, where
reenact the Grand Theft
Grand Theft Larson of his corpse. Oh,
exactly. So what are some other influences you could throw out to me? Like, where does the psych, the heavier part, come from? Were you into the garage rock from the 60s kind of thing, or?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the psychedelic
for sure
influence comes from listening to
even
tons of
like,
what were you gonna...
well, I was just gonna say, even like, I'm just like, I think it's like in there, it's just not a very, like, most of the psych rock stuff, like, I love, like, like SF Sorrow, or I mean, all the like late 60s psych stuff is not so apparent, but it still like informs our palette, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, when we got started trying to sing together, we were like
more country.
We're big Everly Brothers fans, and we got into trying really working that close, trying to do the
not near as good, but
we got pretty into like the whole brother team music kind of way of pitching vocals and getting into the Luvens and things of that sort, and then melding that with us being already into like freak beat and psych and stuff like that, so it's sort of a collision of styles.
It's so cute that Wake Up Little Susie, quaint maybe, caused a stir when it came out.
I know
the implication.
Not PG. Wake up, you gotta go home.
It's pretty risque.
It's so risque. I know. That's
little bit. So you recorded this album during the new one during COVID. I guess you guys have still been writing songs. Do you have another album in your back pocket already written?
Not quite, but we do have quite a lot of ideas that hopefully will lead to the new record. So yeah, a lot of new melodies swimming around.
Yeah, I think for the next album, whenever we end up really diving into it, I think we're going to try to experiment with some different sounds, because I think the past few records have been of a piece. Like I think the Headlands, Dropout City, and 5 kind of comprise a little trilogy of sorts, but we're ready to experiment and do different things and get different sounds, and
maybe we will come back with a heavy psych record.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
How important is it? How important is it to be able to keep moving forward and trying new things and being allowed to have that space?
Oh gosh, critical. So important to us. Otherwise, I mean, we'd be lunatics to keep doing it, because it's
well, I mean, the Ramones made the same album 18 times, can
you imagine? Holy moly. I would go out, and I know people lose their minds at times. Exactly. So yeah. That's why we give ourselves much like the limitation. You have 3 days, make a record. It's a budget thing. So but yeah, no, it's really critical that when we really work hard to carve out that space for ourselves. So we do have the time and the work hard to rally the resources and to get these players together. It's really, really like so important. I mean, to me at least.
Yeah,
I would be very bored without that.
Yeah, like different sounds are moving forward was, I would say, up until this year, not a huge priority. Like if you asked me this a year ago, I would have been like, yeah, I'd be content to make the same kind of record over and over again, just as long as it's new and fresh and moving forward in the very subtle ways. And I guess I stand by that too, but at the same time, I would like to expand.
I think we will with this new record have a little bit, not drastic, but we both want to just get more exploratory than the same arrangements of the pedal we love all that stuff.
I think we'll always be song based. I think we're always gonna want to have lyrics and songs and sing. I don't think we're gonna go to a super
rogue,
right turn to ambient Americana.
We're going to make it very industrial.
Do you guys ever reimagine songs as you're playing them, or like something very early? You keep playing it and you discover that maybe a new arrangement or something.
Yeah, that happens, especially too with like older, like a melody that didn't work. Like I just had this, which I hope it'll end up on the next record, a song that I wrote in the 90s. And I just changed the key and the cadence, but kept the lyrics and the melody. And I'm like, this is dope. This works for us now. So yeah, that does happen. So it's good. It's good when that happens. Like, don't have to work so hard.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if we had a longer tour and had a band and some time to rehearse, it would be
that would
be the time to really reinterpret some of the back catalog stuff.
That would be super cool. I think that's so dope. I love it when artists do that, too. Like
I always say the recording is the artifact, and on stage is where it lives live.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Yeah.
So you can live and grow. So where can you guys have any dates on the books that people can come check you out? Or
unfortunately not right now. We're kind of we're back to writing mode.
Right.
I think though we will in the spring.
Yeah,
we're working on
we have some holds for May of 25.
It's crowded out there right now.
It takes a while to get stuff happening.
I've heard bands say that they, I was talking to Lo from God Street Wine, Lo Faber, and he said, yeah, they'll have 4 or 5 holds, on clubs for 6 months out.
Yeah,
for 6 months. It's like even 9 months. It's crazy. Right. Yeah.
Right. So how do you guys view what's going on in the industry? Things like AI. Do you guys ever think about AI and how it may affect what you do for a living, what you do with this?
I mean, I know like a lot of comedians and writers and Hollywood and stuff are very worried about it, but Dave and I are also, so we both teach English literature and writing for our day job. And
AI is big.
AI is big in that field because, students aren't actually writing the papers, but so that's, I would say, where it really comes in. I haven't really thought about the ramifications or consequence or like what would happen if Chat GPI like just took over music, like singer-songwriters. I don't think it's just like not that big of a threat because I just don't think it would ever be that convincing. But I don't know. What do you think about it?
Yeah.
Like, what are your concerns?
Well, okay, we have Spotify, right? Spotify does streaming. Now, Spotify doesn't sell music. Spotify sells subscriptions. So they could care less what's playing. So I think AI will thrive there because they could just put crap out, get it on a playlist, it'll get 1 million views, and they're still getting
doing, right?
Yeah, someone just got busted for like a bunch of
right, yeah.
Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did. So I just think that that's going to become so prevalent and widespread that Spotify will eventually become useless to hear anything by human beings and fresh and new.
Wild.
Yeah, it could happen.
I'm sure it will, but again, I don't like use Spotify, so but
I don't either, but
that's crazy.
But I do use YouTube. I listen to YouTube, but at least with YouTube, I think they pay more. Yeah.
Yeah, no, YouTube also it's just like you're searching for like, it's a better archive, and obviously it's not corporate, whatever, algorithm driven per se.
Oh, a little bit.
Well, you know what I mean. If you're searching for something, you can find it.
And now Spotify changed their thing where you have to have X number of streams before you can even get any money.
Yeah, they demonetize anything under 1,000 streams.
Anything, and then you only get what, like a half a penny or something per stream when they do count it. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, when like Neil Young pulled his music, I had a conversation with our label. I was like, "Do we need to do this too?" And he was like, "Well, you guys do earn something. It's like not a lot, but it's something." And
it's like $5.
Yeah, so we were like, just leave our music up there for now. It's not like a huge, we're not like going
Well,
to the max.
Neil's back. Neil is back on there now, and so is Joni Mitchell, because they were like,
they folded. What the hell was this? I did not know that.
Yeah,
I mean, they said Joe Rogan is on every other platform we're on, so what does it matter? It was basically the gist of the.
It was like you made a big stink about leaving it in the first place, so it kind of matters, but okay.
Yeah. Well, too bad Pono didn't take off, or
Pono was not.
Been living in a different world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Dave, did you see that Neil Young and Stephen Stills played a couple weeks ago, maybe last week, and they opened up with "Long May You Run," did the Hang Up or something off of the Buffalo Springfield again, did Bluebird. Yeah.
Whoa.
Something. So I think it was like what the Bridge School benefit has become now, which is a smaller event kind of thing.
Right. That's the Neil Young's thing, right?
Yeah. And John Mayer came out for Rockin' in the Free World Encore.
Holy moly.
But Steven still sounds rough. I mean, Neil's voice has never changed because Neil has that wire thin thing. I don't think it'll ever change.
Always sounded old. Yes.
Steven still sounds, his voice has dropped almost a full octave.
Oh man. Whoa. That's wild. Oh my gosh. Whoa. That's
great. Yeah, it's on YouTube though. A couple of the videos are on YouTube. It's pretty neat. Richard Fury's still alive. I talked to him maybe 2 years ago. I don't know why the three of them don't get back together. Bring Richie back and go on a Buffalo Springfield tour.
Yeah, for sure. They're like one of my all-time favorites. I know like that was it Neil Young or was it Richard who was like very disappointed in how the first album came out because they felt like it didn't capture their like raw live sound, as in they just said it's like diminished. But I love that record. I still love
Neil. That's definitely Neil.
Neil, okay. Okay, sounds like Neil. Yeah, that'd be amazing. Can you ask Richard if that could?
Yeah, get him in on that. I think one of the best things Neil ever did on that first album was let Richard sing. Nowadays Clancy can't even sing.
Yeah, for sure.
That's such a great song. I love it. I mean, all right. Anything else you guys want to throw out before we wrap up?
What?
I was just he's Poco too, right? Richie Furay.
Yes. Oh yeah. Messina. Yeah. There's Long's in Messina. Yeah. That was my album of the day.
Nice.
But yeah, they were Poco together. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Messina and him. Yep. Fantastic. Yep. So you guys got your website. You're on the socials. I know you're active on Twitter with me. A lot of people have abandoned, but you can find you guys there. And I'm going to put some links. Yes. Okay. The Great Went. It was a joke. We were driving from Darien Lake to Maine to see fish, and we were like, we should have made shirts with George Wendt from Cheers that said The Great Went. And then years later, when Twitter existed, I brought back a bad joke that was like 3 minutes long from 20 years before.
That's what it's for.
Yeah.
Well, I have another YouTube channel called Wook Plus that is mostly fish content. We like after every fish show, we do recaps 15 minutes after every show at like midnight. And
cool. Yeah, check those out too for sure.
It's my alter ego.
Nice.
It's fantastic. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. Hang on for a sec for me as I run the outro there. And everybody watching, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long. We'll see you soon.